New week, new episode. This week on Chapters Over Coffee, we're talking about 16 through 20. I don't have much to say this intro, so let's get into it.
All right. So we are leaving tavern. Um, they go outside. There's, this big swirly, creepy gate that's out there. Um, he tells her that, Ren's gonna go and then she's gonna follow, and then he'll be right behind her. She refuses and asks what it is. He tells her that it's a shadow gate, a means to an end. She can either use it or spend 2 months on horseback. There was definitely some other descriptions of like scavenging herself for food, sleeping in ditches. Obviously she wants to take that option because she refuses to just go through this gate. And of course, he won't fucking let her. He tells her she is going through it and then asks if she's going to run. He hopes that she would try so he could give her a head start. He says it's been ages since he has hunted anything. Um, Still not giving in. She's like, nope, fuck that. I'm not doing this. So what does he do? He fucking commands her to go through this fucking portal. You will go through this portal. Like, that's that. And obviously the way that he gets her to do that, she cannot disobey. Like, she's 100% bound. Which immediately Ren is like, you did not fucking do that. You, like, please tell me that I did not hear that correctly. Like, you did not just bind her to you, and is just like, what the fuck? Like, he's pissed. So he tries to be, that little calm, like, it's fine. You're going to feel some disorientation for a moment. Just keep walking. It'll be over in a few seconds. So then she tells Fisher that she's going to hate him forever for making her do that and goes through the gate. Um, she's throwing up. She's like just dizzy. It's all bad. And so Ren tries to reassure her, like, you won't feel like this again. It affects us only the first time going through the gate. She can't walk. Like, she's that bad. So he helps her. And he has a little talk with her, like, Fisher isn't what you think he is. She calls him a bastard. And he says that Fisher used to be kinder. The Quicksilver inside him kind of makes it difficult to think straight, and he's exhausted from trying to shut out the voices. And it's made him hard. Like, he's just kind of developed being this
Hard ass.
asshole.
I believe
Um,
it's more than the Quicksilver. It's whatever happened wherever he was sent.
oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. That definitely doesn't help anything. Um, and I'm gonna read a paragraph. Caceres responds, let's not make excuses for him. And Brenthis tells her, they aren't excuses. I've known him my whole life. We were born to different parents, but we were brothers in every other way that counts. I know him better than I know myself. The first time Belican forced him to travel without a relic, the silver infected him so badly that I thought we'd lost him altogether. His mind was so fractured. Let's just say it took a long time for him to recover. The healers did their best, but the piece that remains in his eye torments him night and day. His mother's relic doesn't seem to be as effective anymore, and now he's been exposed to the Quicksilver twice without it again. I just don't know what to expect from him anymore. And so, like, that gives us a little bit more backstory on just the teeniest bit that he's willing to share. Because, he won't tell us where Fisher has been. That's not his story to tell. It's
Mm-hmm.
not fair of him to give out that information. It's Fisher's story, and he'll tell it when he's ready. And
Does he even
so
know where Fisher was sent?
I wonder, obviously, it's not that I wonder, but we kind of know that they have an idea. Just because of like Lane made the comment, in the beginning that she had thought about him, like wondered what he was going through and stuff. And like they just know that it's a dark place. Like he went to somewhere that is hell, basically. And so I don't know. No idea. But 110 years
Long time.
obviously fucked him up. Um, so then we skip a little bit and she wakes up um to Carrion. Um he makes a comment about like punching her. He's having to deal with Onyx. Onyx does not like him at all. He's growling at him, baring his teeth. Um, but she instantly, like, she starts grilling him about pretending to be Hayden. He says he did it to save him because it looked like Fisher was like gonna murder
Mm-hmm.
Hayden or whatever. And she immediately starts asking, like, is he alive? How is he? What happened? And Modric, what's going on with the third? And she finds out that he's alive. He's in the seventh. Carrion got him papers. He got him a job. He's living in a little, I don't know, apartment or a bedroom or something. I don't really know. But was able to get him out the same day that she was taken to the palace. He tells her that Madra isn't looking for him, which I think something super fishy is fucking going on with what she's planning, the
Oh,
celebration,
yes.
because even Saris is like, no, like, this is completely out of the ordinary. Like, why does it seem like she's going all out to be doing this stuff for the third when somebody from the third just fucking stole from her and then activated the Quicksilver? And, she's got to know that the
Oh,
Quicksilver
yeah.
was activated. The sword is gone. Like, the sword is not there anymore and stuff. So she's got to know that something is going on. So I find it very fishy with all of this. So I'm kind of excited to see if anything comes from it. And I'll be fucking pissed if it doesn't, because, like, can't leave us hanging with that.
How did the Quicksilver close when they went through? Did we ever find that out?
I don't think so.
Because who would have closed it? Did. Well, no, because Fisher can't do it.
I don't know.
Hmm. I just realized
I
that.
have no idea.
I just realized that. Like, how did it close behind them?
I have no idea. That's a great question. That is one that I did not think about.
It just dawned on me, like when you were talking about that, the sword's missing and
Yeah.
everything. So, like, who closed it? Because obviously they don't have another alchemist because they need her to figure out these relics. So, who
Mm-hmm.
closed the portal? Or the puddle, the Quicksilver? Hmm.
I don't know. But now I'm
Got to keep that in mind.
intrigued to find out.
Need to keep that in
Um,
mind.
so Carrion tells her that, people came in and touched her. We learned that the sprites came in, they healed her. Um, she's telling Carrion everything that has happened. She's going all of this. She's like paying attention to the room and just taking it all in. And then after all of the story, all he took from it was she fucking kissed him. She kissed Fisher. Like, that was it. That's all he said. So you kissed the guy. Like, that was his response to all of this. Not like, holy fuck, the Fae are real, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. They're myths. It's, not anything like her reaction. But why was he so calm about it? Like, he's just
But he deals with
not.
trading. Like, he has his own little warehouse and stuff. So maybe he's
But
heard things.
still, like,
But maybe he's heard
no,
things because
maybe.
of the business he's in. Although I have to say, I enjoyed him in these chapters. Like, I enjoyed him in these ones.
Me too. Um, she tells him about relics, and then Carrion asks, how she's gonna be able to do all that. Here comes Fisher, and comments like she's about to find out. They go about it a little bit, and Carrion agrees that, maybe she needs to just go with him, help him do, they can go home, blah, blah, blah. Um, he's like ready to do anything that, they can go back home. So she makes Fisher make a promise that they'll be able to go home as soon as, all of her relics are made. And she's obviously thinking, like, this, I just got to learn how to do it. It's a piece of cake. They don't need that many, blah, 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 like,
Oh,
whatever. And
boy, was
deed is
she
done,
wrong.
and I'm out of here. Fuck yeah, she was. Um, so then we go into chapter 17, and we learn that they're not at the encampment just yet. She talks about like picturing tents and campfires and smoke and all of that, but they're not. They're I'm assuming his palace or whatever,
It's
his home. I
the
don't know
house
if
he
it's a
grew up in.
palace or just a house. But we learned that his great great grandfather built it before his mother was commanded to go to the Winter Palace to marry Belican. We get introduced to Archer, and I can't remember if it was this chapter or a chapter a little later where he kind of opens up, but we find out that, he was one of the only people that care for Archer. He took care of Fisher, and
Yes,
he's
that's in
one of the only ones that he
that
that
held
actually
him.
cares for him. Yeah. Especially after his parents uh were killed or before his mom was dragged away to fucking
Hmm.
marry the king and stuff, like Archer was one of the few that were there. Um and she keeps calling him fairies and doesn't, he makes a comment like you'll do good to learn everybody's names and stuff like that so you don't offend the wrong person by calling everybody fairies, which I think is funny because, he felt the same way about humans, how temporary they are. So it was pointless in learning what her name was or even using her name because she wasn't going to be around there long.
Right.
So now she's all like, well, I'm not going to be here long. Like, there's no point in me learning names. Um,
That's what she thinks.
right.
He's like,
He
oh,
even
heck
kind of
no.
jabs. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a bigger connection between them.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that there's like something like they're connected somehow.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is yet, but they think that they're connected somehow, and I think he's conflicted. Like, no, I don't want her to know, or something. Like, I don't know, but there's something that's
Connecting them.
there. Yeah. He jabs at her about being so eager to get back to the oppression, the starvation, and she says that he should understand the most why she wants to go back because he's so desperate to help his friends, and she has friends and family back there that also need help because they're not going to be able to fight Madra on their own. And he asks her why shoulder the responsibility of saving them when they refuse to save themselves, and she replies, because it's the right thing to do. Like, she can't just walk away. So we get to visit the forge this chapter, and it basically like puts the Winter Palace to shame with how big it is. Um, and I like how they use magic to kind of like make things bigger. Because like they were on the third floor and then all of a sudden they're like it's a ground floor with huge ceilings. Um, the wall is open so you can see outside. You can see all the mountains and stuff. And the one mountain was named Omnimarin. I don't know how you spell it. It's at the beginning of the book. I think it's like Omnimarin or something. I'm probably butchering that, so don't come for me.
That's how
Um,
Omnimarin.
okay. But it's the tallest peak and it means sleeping giant in Old Fae. Um, and she asks, do people try to climb it? He says only if they want to die. But uh, so she asks if they could. I think she asks about how, they create the rooms like that or whatever. And he talks about like binding and stuff, which kind of pisses her off because she's like, okay, if you can do this, why couldn't you have done that at the tavern? And, he explains to her that a shadow gate takes a lot of magic to kind of conjure or like to bind the door, not the shadow gate, sorry, but to bind the door like that. And Belican would have been able to feel them drawing that much power to be able to do that, and he would have been able to teleport there in a heartbeat. Um, we also find out he shows her a trunk that has 1,800 rings in it, and then tells her that there's 8 more trunks, which translates into 15,000 relics that need to be made. So she's got her fucking work cut out for her.
And she's limited with supplies.
Uh huh. Yep. And that's all I have. I don't know if you have anything more
No.
to add.
Nope, these
So,
next 3 chapters are the chapters that really get into things.
yep.
So we find out that Fisher has books written by alchemists before they all died, but they were written in Old Fae and she didn't know like anything. She couldn't read them. And then she wasn't sure how she'd get any useful information out of them, considering none of his kind had been successful. So she doesn't believe that there's anything in these books that's going to help her with what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, she gave up with the books and decided to just start some trial and error experiments. She knew she couldn't use the rings of the warriors in case she wasn't successful. It would have ruined them. And it has to be, I think it was stated that it had to be something of value to that like family, to that
Yeah.
person. So like even if it was like a family relic or something, like it had to be from them.
Yep.
She was able to find a small amount of Ivalian silver and that she was able to turn it into a medallion, but she couldn't find any Quicksilver until she heard the faintest whisper saying, "Here, here, I am here." But she had to focus all her attention just to be able to hear it. When she did find it, she gets back to work. She places the medallion in the Quicksilver, but nothing, noting that there was barely enough and nothing had happened. But she notes that something was calling to her, or in a sense, in the Quicksilver, wanting to find them, whatever this is, because it was repeating. What did I write? Okay, it was just kept repeating the word here, and then was telling her, "Alone, come to me, find me, be with me." I believe she's more than an alchemist. I think it's more than an alchemist
I don't know.
for how connected she is to it.
Oh.
Makes
She's
you want.
definitely fucking strong, as we find out, like, later on.
Yeah,
So,
but
there's definitely more to her than what we've found out.
See, and they believe like she's got part Fae, but she doesn't have enough. If she is a little bit of Fae, she doesn't have enough for like their healing abilities. And we do find that out, like for how many times she's been injured. Like it's
Yeah.
not enough to show. That's why I believe maybe, because are alchemists just Fae?
I don't know. I don't think it's actually like.
Because we learned though, like in Zavarian, Madra made sure those people didn't survive. And now we kind of know why with the whole Quicksilver. So it makes me wonder, like, I think she's more than an alchemist. There's something there. After her fourth attempt of trying, she gave up for the day. But as she was leaving the forge, she ran into Ren, who was on his way back, or on his way to check on her. He had just came back from an attack where he talked about where he killed like 30 or so enemies. And she felt awkward because she didn't know what to say to him. So she just congratulates him. But like he understood, like he understood what she was doing
Yeah.
because she really didn't know what to say. He then
I mean,
proceeds.
because really, what do you say to somebody like that? Oh, like, great,
Oh,
you just
cool. Yeah, like,
killed a lot of people. Like,
good job.
good job.
Yeah. He then proceeds to let her know that he gave Fisher hell for using the oath, that he made her swear, but also wants him to get to know her a little better. So he's like trying to force them together. The situation that how I kind of like took it as is in his mind, in Ren's mind, if I force them together, they'll get along.
Yeah.
Or she can fix him.
Yeah.
Because he knows there's a connection there. Like, he knows
Yep.
something there between them. He can read the room, so he's got to play his part to get them there,
Mm-hmm.
in a
Mm-hmm.
sense. And I have no doubt that Fisher does want to get to know her, just in a completely different way.
Yeah.
Completely different way. Uh, they can't afford. Ren mentions that they can't afford Fisher to break her because she's kind of like their tool right now to help with everything. They need her, so Ren wants Saris to and Fisher to have dinner. She only agreed if there was going to be alcohol there in order for her to get through this whole dinner. So we're jumping to the dinner, and she finds out that it's just the two of them. They're sitting at this long ass 30 feet long table, if that. He's at one end, she's at the other, and there's this like massive floral centerpiece dead in the center, so she can't even see him. It's like,
Yeah.
and she thinks that he did it on purpose. So like they don't have to look at each other. During their dinner though, Saris asked for something poured into her wine glass when Kingfisher answered back. He had used his magic to cast his voice, so it sounded like it was like exactly right next to her. So she explains to him that she needed more silver to conduct her trials, but he wants her to purify it after every time she uses it, so that way she can reuse it, because we learn that the resources are tight and that regular silver cannot be spared. Because they need the silver for a very specific purpose, and they need as much of it as they can lay their hands on. We learn later on exactly what they need the silver for, but they weren't able to buy any silver due to it being picked clean. Any silver found within Ivalia's borders must be given to the crown. So Belican pretty much put a stop to them getting this silver. Fisher says, I know. Fisher says that it's why they need to use the Quicksilver so badly. They'd be able to trade with the other realms because they have an abundance of it there in the different places, unlike what they have. She thought that Belican would give them some, but Fisher said no, he won't even give them any aid for the war, Wouldn't give him food, clothes, or weapons because he doesn't care about this war. So it's like he's got his good people there at the palace, and he said, screw everybody else. Like, you're on your own, you die, you die. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I skipped a whole part that she moves next to him. Okay, like, okay,
Hold on.
so I totally forgot to mention that before she explains the whole silver situation, she had moved seats. So she is he's at the head of the table, she's to the right, which plays a big ass part. Do you know what the right stands for because she calls him a princeling? When somebody sits on the right, there's a reason they're not supposed to sit to his right. That is for the
Not offhand.
consort. It's for the consort or
Oh.
wife. You have like your right hand on the left side. Your special person is on your right. Because
Ha!
that's like a
Well,
real
she
life
about to be.
thing. It's a real life thing. So that's how I know that. Um, and this, so while she's sitting there, she notices how active the Quicksilver was in his eye and how he tenses up at this. And he was sitting there waiting for her to ask, but she wasn't going to because she knew he'd get angry about the whole situation. So when the servants bring out the food, and this is why the servants reacted the way they did. When they brought out the food, they all were shocked about Saris. She thought it was because they didn't like humans, but it wasn't because she was a human. It was actually because of where she's sitting at, because that's meant for somebody of higher, like royalty or like high up. That's for your wife, queen, your significant other, essentially. So like they sit to your right. Because Archer even reacted like he was kind of like embarrassed because in his mind he probably thought, I didn't put that there.
Yeah.
Like her setting, it wasn't supposed to be in that position. So they're talking about so Saris brings up about them. What'd she say? Something about she didn't know the Ivalian etiquette, so that she wouldn't be sitting there in the dining hall, I'm assuming is what it is, wherever they are eating at. That she wouldn't be sitting there, but Fisher was not having any of it and let her know that she would be eating in that room. Like, she was not
Mm-hmm.
going to be eating in her room. She was not going to be eating in the forge. She was supposed to be eating there with him. This is that time where he opens up about Archer, so that Archer helped raise him,
Okay.
that he just has a soft spot for him, but he was interested, and not in like a romantic type way. He was more interested in Saris, but and was wondering if she was staying because he liked humans. Either that or he was just saying that, but I believe that to be like what he was saying was true.
Yeah.
During their dinner, she tries to get Fisher to just send Carrion home because he has his family, especially his grandmother, and that she knew she would be worried about him, and that he could also let Hayden and Elroy know that she was okay before they do anything that they were going to regret. And I have a feeling, like
Mm-hmm.
you had said, that it's going to have to do with these two, I believe. Something's going to happen during whatever Madra's planning.
Yeah,
There's something fishy around it.
I just don't get that she's planning a celebration. Like none of that just happened.
Celebration maybe for death is how I see it, not
Yeah.
anything good. So then their conversation turns because she brought up Carrion and how Carrion had mentioned that Saris was infatuated with him. Um, She argues that fact that she couldn't stand him, and then she counters about the oath not being fulfilled on his end because he didn't bring back her brother. So they're going back and forth on the whole situation. And then he brings up about that he used what he called her perfume. Because while she was grinding on him, she marked him. And that's exactly what he smelled on Carrion. Which I don't know why you would smell that on your brother, but... And he didn't put two and two together at first. She tried to argue, that it was months ago that he shouldn't have smelled like her. Yeah. I'm assuming she was the last. But
I don't know. He's a player. Like, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, but you have those ones that
I've heard worse stories of what people do.
Once you find that one to end it all, you got some people like that. Like, she was like the best of the best. Nobody's going to top her. But we don't know that. So Fisher just lets her know that he would be able... Okay, so he lets her know that he'd be able to pick her scent out anywhere, no matter the distance, pretty much is what he told her. Excuse me. But before they could finish their conversation, because she was trying to tell him to shut up, a loud boom happened from the explosion of glass, and she's protecting her face, and then she noticed that Fisher becomes death. Like how she called him that the first time that she had seen him. And what she found were there were 4 of them, tall monsters with patchy, stringy hair and white, waxy skin. Gaunt cheeks, spider-webbed with black fangs, crooked fingers that terminated into claws, red eyes, not just the irises, but the whites too. As if every capillary had burst and bled beneath the surface, each of them bared a mouthful of elongated yellowed fangs that dripped with ropes of vicious saliva. They wore clothes, but the garments were in tatters, barely clinging to their... I can't even...
Emaciated
fragrance. Yeah, I don't know that word. Anyways. So he's
fine, I got you.
Yeah. I can't do them. Big words scare me. Well, considering I couldn't say the word Pacific for the longest time, it always came out specific.
You can't say!
Excuse me, I lied. Specific. I couldn't say the word specific. It always came out Pacific.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I tried to break the damn word down, I always came out Pacific and not specific.
Mm-hmm.
And then I outgrew that phase. But now I have no problem saying the word. I think it was like up to like 5th or 6th grade. I couldn't say the damn word. Okay.
A lot of people have trouble with that word.
I don't know what it was. For some reason, I couldn't figure the damn thing out. So Fisher's taking on 2 of them when Saris noticed 2 other ones, a woman and a female, across from her, that their eyes were blank. There was no intelligence, no real thought, only the desire to rip and tear and kill, and that she noticed that hatred had radiated from them. So he's still occupied with his, so the woman comes at Saris first. Saris was able to get a couple slices in on the woman with her dagger, causing little white flecks to spill from the wound that turned out to be maggots. Disgusting. Then next, the boy came towards her, but before she could get a hit on him, he moved unnaturally, so they both fell on top of Saris. We never find out when he up and left, though. Because the boy's now across the other side of the room. after he had fallen on her because the women started clawing at her, but before she could stick her teeth in, black smoke had wrapped around her throat. The smoke became metal, and then her head parted from her neck. And so Saris mentions, because Fisher's standing over her, Saris mentions about the boy. The boy was 8 feet away on his hands and knees, eating some or licking blood off the rug. So
Ew.
who knows when like, we didn't really get an idea of how he left. And that distracted him until now. But Fisher snuck up behind him, took Nemarel, and decapitated him as well, which caused her to turn over and start throwing up. He came back over to her, checking on her, and he states that her wound would need scrounging because the poison that was now in her system would kill her otherwise. And then a few minutes later, she couldn't feel her fingers and she couldn't figure out why Fisher was running. I didn't put it in here, but she was starting to get delusional because she was seeing like stars in his hair and that he looked breathtaking. Yeah. But he's running.
Hold on.
So he's running and she's wondering what those were. And this is where we find out these were the feeders that he was talking about. Coming through the Quicksilver. And that the reason they needed the silver because it was the only way to kill them. Before he's shouting somebody to come help. She then is having this dream of death and ash. She was trapped with no way out. Everywhere she went, there were crowds of these feeders. They tore at her with clawed fingers, and then they sank their rotting teeth into her skin. She wasn't able to outrun them, nor fight them. And here to find out, it really is a dream. She had woke up and not knowing where she was at, just that she was in a 4-poster bed. And then the words she heard, did she hear it? She saw. Oh, she heard a voice says, "Oh, look, she's alive." Fisher was like in the corner in a chair, just sitting there like a creep watching her, pretty much. To
Yeah.
which all she says was, "It wasn't my fault." He just tells her that he never said it was. But according to her, he was looking at her like it was her fault. And that she was battling with a guilty conscience at this point. But she still believes that she has this hole in her side, but Fisher lets her know that they had excellent healers. They were better than the ones at the Winter Palace. So they're going back and forth on this whole little situation for a while. He then brushes the attacks off of the feeders, stating that they were never going to win. But the house, because for so long the house had been unguarded, and he never realized that the feeders had gotten so hungry, so he wasn't expecting this attack to even happen. But he was impressed that she had gotten 2 hits in as a human. But to me, I took it as him being like mocking her in a way and being that sarcastic asshole.
Yeah.
Because he then states what would have been a mild irritation to him, because he's Fae, that it had almost killed her. And that's why I brought this question up earlier. I had it here too, makes me wonder, are the alchemists Fae? Because if she's an alchemist and they're Fae, she should have been able to heal and not react the way she has been reacting.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't have really much information on previous
The
alchemists
alchemists,
other
yeah.
than that they went crazy and killed themselves. So,
But I wonder if it's because of the Quicksilver. Like, yeah, they can talk to it, but did they feed into these voices
yeah.
that they were
Or
hearing?
maybe
And
they just were horrible at trying to shut them out the way that Fisher does, and it just got to be too much, and so they just were done and killed themselves, and that was that.
excuse me. Um, He proceeds to tell her how soft and fragile she is. And at this time, he's holding himself. She notes that he's holding himself from touching her. And this kind of like helps your case, like there's more of a connection to them. But is it also the Quicksilver in his eye? Because she's drawn to the Quicksilver. So is it the
Maybe it's
Quicksilver
drawn
in
to her.
his, yeah, which is affecting him to in place of this Quicksilver?
I don't know.
I never thought of it like that till now.
Uh-uh.
See, I don't think of these things when I'm writing down this information until like I'm
But
reading it out
sometimes you gotta
loud. And
like,
it's like,
yeah.
okay, that makes sense. Why is my camera going blurry? Um, but she notices that he's holding back from touching the side of her cheek until she broke the spell he was under by stating that they were in his room. He's totally drawn to her, though.
Yeah.
The next
And
thing
I
she
feel like it's
noted,
more than just a lust
yeah,
thing. Like,
it's like
you
that. It's that
know,
connection. It's definitely,
not infatuation. There's something bigger.
oh yeah. Um, the next thing she noticed was the look on his face that was like he couldn't understand how he got there in the first place to that time, like wanting to touch her face. And to when his features hardened. To me, it was probably scares him because we don't know what he went through just yet. So, like, and from what you had found out that could have happened, that's going to be the reason why he can't figure out. It makes sense to why he's
Yeah.
holding himself back because of what he went through. It's hard for him to trust anybody at this point.
Yeah.
He plays it off that she's in his room because it was the closest place to take her. She does notice that all his paintings in that room were torn to shreds. But as he was leaving the room, he projects his voice to tell her that sometimes the pendant doesn't stave off the darkness that creeps in. So it's like he's reliving. I imagine he's reliving what he went through. Not so
See,
much
that's what I
like
think too.
the Quicksilver's replaying those moments for him and not letting
Or
him
it's speaking to him and it's constantly taunting him with what had happened, even if
happen.
he's not seeing anything. Like the voices in his head are just like
Yeah, because
taunting him about it.
he already had the Quicksilver in him before he was sent to where he was sent.
Yeah.
He then uses the oath bound on her, which she didn't know at the time until after he fully leaves the room, to make sure that she stays in his bed to heal and is only allowed to get up to relieve herself so she can properly heal. She still had traces of the poison in her veins. Again, they're going back and forth a little more because Saris was curious where he was staying at, but he was staying at the war camp. He made sure to let her know that he doesn't use an injury as an excuse to slip into bed. He has no problem securing an invite. She tries to tell him at this point that she'd never invite him, but he just tells her that she'd be the one to beg him to join her. And then we skip a little bit. That 5 days had passed where she was to eat in his bed, sleep in his bed. And at this point, she wanted to kill him. She was so bored out of her mind. She was only allowed to get up to use the restroom, and then her feet took her right back into the bed. Onyx did come and stay with her the whole time while he was gone. When the Fae healer came to see her, she told Saris that she still had one more day and that the oath knows when she's not fully healed, even if she was to release her. The oath was still keeping her there and would not let her out of that room. On the final day, because I think some of my notes got deleted,
Uh-oh.
she wakes up to Carrion. Let me see where this place is at. Okay. Yeah. Carrion had brought her breakfast in the room. But at this point, she was pissed. So, Carrion being Carrion suggested that they revenge fuck on Fisher's bed because he swears up and down that Fisher would never find out. Yeah, right. But he was willing to risk inciting his wrath, and the punishment would be worth it. I don't think your death would be worth it. I don't think you would want death. So they're going back and forth more. And then they get into it because Saris tells him that he does not have more charm than Fisher. And then she notices that he has 2 pairs of boots, even though he's dirty. Because the last time she saw him, he only had the one. So Fisher had given them to him on one condition. He had to take a bath. And we all know why Fisher wanted him to take a bath. Because Carrion thought he, even though being, kidnapped and taken to a whole different world, that he still smelled great. Yeah. He must be immune to his own smell.
I guess.
But according to Carrion, Fisher was wound up about the way he smelled. I wonder why. I totally wonder why. And he did state that Fisher was kind of rude to him about it. So he had some water sprites.
I wonder why.
Yeah. He sent some sprites to come and scrub Carrion down. He mentioned that 3 water sprites had paid special attention to him down there with some kind of moss. And he thought Saris was jealous over this whole fact that he pretty much had a foursome with them, but she was just disgusted because, in her words, what if he got some Fey disease to which he wasn't worried about? He was just having the time of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lets her know, hey, you finished everything on your plate. You're good to go. She wasn't very happy.
No.
And to me, they bicker like a brother and sister. So it's,
yeah.
So like when he's joking about screwing with her, it makes it odd, but they give brother-sister vibes rather than like lovers or somebody like
yeah, they
just
do
casual hookups and stuff. Like they bicker like siblings or like better friends than anything. All right, so now we're jumping and she's back in the forge. She still doesn't have any luck. And I believe, I haven't fully figured this out yet from what we have read, I believe these pendants are easier than what they think. I think they're overthinking it.
Probably.
With the little amount of silver she had, she could only do 3 experiments a day. Then she had to refine it so that she could test it again the following day. But every time she did refine it, she'd lose some. As she's working, she ignores Onyx's sounds of outrage, that she doesn't see the intruder climbing over the wall. Luckily, it was just Renfis. Him and Fisher had just gotten back from the war camp, and he was in charge of letting her know that Fisher wanted her presents for dinner again. But this time, Saris wasn't going unless Ren was there as well. She played the card that she wouldn't show up if he didn't go, which would in turn make Fisher come looking for her and demand that she comes to dinner. And she knew that would pull on Renfis's strings because he doesn't like when Fisher uses the oath.
Yeah.
So she had him right there. And what I find strange is that when she was calling Fisher the devil incarnate and saying, saying like things like, when isn't he happy? Because Ren knew that he would throw a fit that he was coming to dinner with them. And then she was saying things like, why couldn't he ask himself? Ren at this time was distracted. Like, he's looking a whole different way. Sarah chalked it up to his Fae hearing picking up something up.
What if Fisher was nearby?
Yes, that is what I was thinking. I believe he may have been listening nearby and reacting to what she was saying. So, like, he could hear, he's probably like mumbling or like, so Ren's gonna hear it, but not enough for her to hear it, because she didn't believe the fact that Ren had said that he was with the healer, but stated that Fisher came out unscathed.
Yeah.
So it makes me believe that Fisher was actually listening in, trying to see what her response was to having dinner. So I believe he was just being nosy. And then she brings up about Nemerel, on how she wanted to know how he still had, how it still had magic, because all the other god swords had went silent, but Nemerel stayed no matter what. It never left Fisher. The only thing that happened was it tarnished. Like, it didn't, what did it say? It used to shine brilliant silver, but after centuries had passed, it blackened and tarnished, but it still had its magic and could do what it needed to do. That kind of ends there. She's now going back down to dinner, and she convinced Carrion to tag along too. So she needed 2 buffers with this dinner. So he's telling her they're getting close to the dining hall, and he's telling her that she should have worn that dress that was left to her because it was it this one? Yeah. So this is the dress. He had stated that he's like, I seem to remember there being a very low cut, sheer black dress on the end of your bed when I went back to your room earlier, and I can't help but notice that you're wearing a faded, threadbare shirt and some very dusty pants. Then he was stating how that he was interested in seeing her in the dress because she had phenomenal tits and they would have looked great in the dress, and your ass, the material was sheer as hell, wouldn't have left much to the imagination. And then he's like, not that I need to use my imagination when it comes to your body. And before he could finish what he was saying, there was a growl because she's opening the door at this time. So it seemed like a little somebody was jealous. Because he was not happy, and she notes that he wanted to wrap his hands around Carrion's neck. And then, so that little situation didn't help, on top of he was already pissed off that she had invited 2 others to their meeting. Don't fall backwards.
Yeah. I know. I was like, oh, she didn't see that. Yeah,
I saw a glimpse of it. See, and this is another one. Okay, this is about her seating, and this is why Ren acted the way he did. She sits in the same spot as the last time, and it's what shocks Ren Fist, because she's on the right and she shouldn't. And Carrion offers to sit there, but Fisher was not having it at all. So Ren offers to switch, but Saris didn't see the problem because she'd still have to see Fisher's smug face. So Fisher just tells Ren to go with it because she chose where she wanted to sit, not knowing the meaning behind the seat. If she would have learned the etiquette, she would have known what that seat meant. So, jump a little bit. We're at this point, Carrion, is making conversation about the way the Fey warriors fought, and noticed that they were almost as bloodthirsty as brawlers who fight in the pits for water rations in the third ward. And Saris notes that Fisher was kind of like looking at her, wondering, like, have this look like wondering if she had to do this, which she doesn't come out and say it, but she does. She has. And she believes that Carrion also had to do it. Excuse me. So to this, Rent offers Carrion the opportunity to train with them the following day, but Sarah says that she wants to as well. So then Fisher chimes in about her wanting to get home quick. Like, he thought that that's what she wanted to do, but she let him know that she wasn't getting anywhere with the relics. So again, they're going back and forth, bickering with each other, while the other two are trying to ignore them. And I'm pretty sure they can feel the sexual tension between the two of these. And that's why they're trying to, like, they don't want to be there. They're trying to have their own little conversation going. So again, when the training is brought up, Sarah says she'll be there the following morning, but Fisher tries to step in and wants her to use a dull training sword, trying to knock her down a peg, because it gets her fired up, and they start going back and forth. Ren doesn't want to get called into it because Fisher tried dragging him into this, but he wants no part in this. So she uses this opportunity to bring up the fact that he used the oath again on her and went off on him for all the times that he did it. So he bribes her. He'll answer her question if she eats, which gets them to go back and forth some more with each other, paying no attention to the other two in the room, because then Fisher turns things sexual on her, stating that if he was evil for using the oath, he would have used it to his advantage. In his words, he would have ordered her to suck and fuck him until she passed out from exhaustion. And if he was to do that, her actions would have been innocent and it wouldn't have been her fault. This, though, gets Ren to react and give him a scandalized look that Fisher ignored, and Saris knew that if she heard what Fisher was saying to her, then he'd be able to smell her, making it mortifying for her. She's trying to just get Fisher to shut up, to not say anymore, because especially with, like, Ren's hearing, like, he's hearing everything that's that Fisher is saying. So he just tells her to eat her dinner and that they're going to the war camp tomorrow. And that's where that chapter ends.
Okay, number 2. Sorry.
No,
Squirrel. Okie dokie. So we're at the war camp, and it's literally pretty much how she pictured what going to Kalish was going to be. It's described as just a little scar in the foothills on the other side of the Omnimaran Mountains. It sits between the Kalish and the Sanis-Rothian border. There's 20,000 tents. It's split by a river. On the other side of the river was blackened, charred wasteland. No snow covered the ground. Pillars of smoke rose up to meet a grim, foreboding sky. There were no trees, no greenery, just black dirt. It auto-corrected to almond treats.
Oops.
It's almond treats. Not almond treats. The seat of the enemy, or Hell's Teeth, is what it's called. The walls were made of, like, sheer obsidian, slick as glass. It was built from the bones of demons. The peaks and spires were as sharp as a razor's edge. We get introduced to Holgoth, a little creature that like goes around the war camp. Um, we don't like learn a whole lot about him, but I'm assuming he's just like the go-to guy or whatever, passes on information, a little messenger type person. Like he lets them know that the warriors were down there, they were arguing. Um, Fisher tells them, you know, Rempus is going to talk to them, but he feels, you know, that they need to hear from Fisher, but Fisher doesn't want to change the leadership, I guess, the he doesn't want to change the command. Because Ren has been in charge for so long that there's no need to, you know, change it now or anything. And so he just doesn't want to talk to the people, which we find out nobody fucking knows that he's there or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
he stayed hidden.
so then we get to their training. Um, So during their first little training, he's discussing the river. He talks about how, you know, it's just a small pool. As it travels down through the mountains, it gains momentum, it gathers more water. Um, there's a few hundred miles away that the Darn is over a league wide. Carrion, you know, he's doing his best to keep up with Ren. Ren is wearing him down, but he's telling him that he's dropping his blade the moment anything makes contact, and that he would be dead in seconds if it was a real fight. But Carrion tells him that, you know, Ren is a demon with the blade, and he could definitely say that he would definitely not last longer than 3 seconds if it was an actual fight against him. We learn that Ren had fought with humans at one time who roared in the face of certain death. They held their own in the charge. They had emerged victorious from battle. They did their people proud. Carrion finally gets to a point where he kind of surrenders. He's tired. He's done. He wants Ren to take his turn with Saris. And so she steps up. She's holding her own. She even gets like an Attagirl from Rempus. And she like gets distracted when she sees a flash of silver as his sword moves, and then she's on the ground. Carrion is laughing. And you know, she even says, you know, she laughed plenty of times when he was fighting with Ren. But she gets back up. She studies the way that Ren moves, so she was able to adapt her own fighting stance. She learned quick, so every time he attacked, she was ready for him. And then Ren is just like, fight me. Like, come on, stop. Like, give me your all, basically. And so that's what she decides to do. She runs at him, she screams, and Ren has to concentrate. Like, she's doing good against him. Like, she definitely can keep her own in a battle with a warrior like that. But just as Ren takes her out and disarms her, Fisher fucking shows up. And of course, you know, he makes a little cocky joke about it and says he could try to be nice. Like, he showed up just in time to see her learn disarmament. And she jabs back at him like, oh, did you come to show me how useless I am with a sword? But he tells her that he doesn't come with the training mode, and she's definitely not ready for him, basically. So he takes Saris. Ren's gonna go do what he needs to do. I think he's getting ready to go talk to the warriors. And so he's like, I need to speak with the alchemist. Like, and I didn't like that. I'm like, what the fuck is about to happen? Like, you're being all like formal. Like, I need to speak with the alchemist. You know, and it could have
Yeah.
been like, I need to speak with the human or whatever. So him saying, referring to her as the alchemist really isn't out of character for him because it could have been the human. But I'm like, what? That's
Right?
what? Um, so he takes her to his quarters. I was watching TV at the same time, so it was picking up words here and there. So I added stuff to my notes. Um, so just yeah. I had the TV turned down low and obviously it wasn't good enough. So they get there, he tells her to go in. He even says please, which was super hard for him with his, the way he reacts and stuff. Like he's never had to apologize for
Mm-hmm.
anything.
He's
Um
trying.
yeah. And I give him props for that. She's surprised by the way his tent looks. He's got rugs, he's got a fireplace, he's got bookshelves, he's got tons of books. He's got books that are stacked on the rug, like open, like he was researching, to which he tells her that he was researching something very important to him. But he brought her there so they could have a meal one on one, not with Carrion, not with Renthis, just the two of them. Um, And I will say I was surprised by this, but he does give her a compliment and tells her that he had been watching her and she fought well. And so, she has to hit him with that snarky comment. Oh, I bet you're surprised for a woman or a human, blah, blah, blah. And so he counters that and says that he can tell by the way a person moves if they've had training, and he knew from the first moment that he saw her on her feet that she could fight. And to not get ahead of herself because Ren was going easy on her. But still, he gave her like a compliment. Um, she even makes a comment at one point about him, like what drives him, does he want to be like the king? And, that really hit him. Like he did not like that. He says he's not like him. He's never thirsted after power. And then she asks why he wants her to be so compliant. And he says that he wants her to obey him because he brought her there. So that makes him responsible for her. He needs her alive so that way she can work on the rings to make them relics, because without them, they'll be trapped in a stalemate with the Sanus Roth forever, neither side being able to win or lose, and then he'll never be able to reclaim his family's land. So I like that we got a little bit more that he shared with that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not and the land is, obviously probably for his people and stuff like that, but that's, his family is important to him too.
Right.
Um so then they keep going back and forth at each other. Like they just never fucking stop.
They bickered these last
And
5 chapters.
yeah. So she calls him incorrigible. He says, I don't know what that means. She's like, yes, you do. And then all of a sudden, all black shadows start spilling from his finger. It engulfs the table, the food, like everything. And it just like fucking flips the table. And then he's got her pinned up against the fucking bookshelf. Things get a little bit hot and heavy for a brief moment. Y'all can go fucking read that with your dirty little minds. Um, she tells him that she wants him, and that was the wrong thing to say. Girl, it would have gone further if you would not have said,
Just enjoy
I
the
want
moment.
you.
Just take
Just
it.
stop talking. Stop
Take it.
talking.
Yep. Take it for what it is. Enjoy the moment and
You
just
gonna
let it
take it?
happen. And just let it happen.
Exactly. But that was kind of like an awakening for him. He's like, fuck, like, what am I doing? He stops everything that's going on. She's getting her thoughts back together. She thinks that, it's a terrible idea. She shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have kissed him back. shouldn't have told him that she wanted him. And he like goes back up to her and he kind of like grabs her face and he gives her a kiss. And then he tells her that he can't trust anything. And so I do wonder if that is a lot with like, the Quicksilver. Maybe it's talking to him, or
Taunting
I don't know.
him.
Maybe there's something more to it and he just doesn't, he's not sure. Like, I don't know. Um, so they get their fucking shit together. Like, they're all good. And he takes her to the map tent. They fucking smelling right now like each other. Hot lust.
Well, I think that's why he took a dip into the water.
Oh, probably. I had to fucking. Well, maybe. Yeah, because he does come back
He comes back
soaking wet.
because the female maid, she made the comments.
Yeah. Ren sees her, asks if she's okay. He can smell it. He's worried about her. She says that Fisher didn't do anything. He just kissed her. Everything was fine. And he tells her to go sit with Carrie, and Carrie's over sitting by a fire eating a fucking quiche. Like, eating a fucking quiche, like, everything is fine. Like, it's comedy hour right now.
Like his life wasn't just turned upside down for however
like,
long.
No big deal. I'm in another world, but let's eat a fucking quiche. Like,
in the middle of a war camp.
In the middle of camp. Like, it's like in Lightlark. There's a fucking middle of a battle. Let's all go down memory lane. Like,
yeah, find out you're married.
Yeah.
The whole time.
While eating a quiche. And smelling like sex. She feels like eyes are on her. Maybe people can smell it. Friend can smell it, then they all can fucking smell that she's all hot and bothered. So then Carrie's telling her about Danya, which we haven't quite learned her name yet, but we'll still just call her Danya, and how she punched somebody. And just, I don't know, he's kind of like all about her. When he notices that Cyrus's neck is bleeding, he asks why her neck is bleeding. And it didn't really like dawn on her, when he was at her neck and stuff. But then, here comes Fisher. He walks into the tent. His eyes immediately find Cyrus. We then learn that, Danya is the warrior. She's pissed that Fisher's back. She thinks he's a traitor. She's like questioning him, demanding to know where he's been, why he just walked away from them. How could he, just disappear after Gillithry? Why he didn't make himself known that he was at the camp for like the last couple weeks. And she just keeps talking. Ren says, "You don't know what you're talking about," but she wants someone. Then she kind of like cocks off, like, "Oh, please, someone enlighten me." Before, I put my sword through his traitorous throat. And then we're introduced to Lorith. And Danya doesn't think that, Fisher is the commander. Like, she's super fucking pissed. And Ren is trying to get him to just tell the truth. He thinks that everybody will understand if they just knew what happens, like where he went and all of that. And he just doesn't want to fucking talk about it. So Danya then screams traitor. She starts to move toward him, and Cyrus just yells stop. Like, she just has this instinct. She yells stop. Danny's body it says Denny, but Danya's body rocked sideways. She slams into the table, her hip colliding with the wood. But that wasn't what drew 20 pairs of stunned eyes toward her. It was her sword splintering into thousands of shards, the quivering steel needle shooting through the air and hitting the wall above Ren's head so hard that they drove an inch into the pitted stone. Everybody was fucking shocked. And so Danny is like, we have a fucking alchemist? Like, seriously? Fisher instantly is like, she's mine. Like, pretty much, don't fuck with her. She's mine. Like, that's his. Do not, do not try anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then all hell breaks loose. Somebody starts yelling icebreakers over and over again. Um, Lorith tells them to stay put, not to move. He means it. And then we end with learning that Stannis Roth enemies at the riverbank. And that's where we're just done.
The worst
That's
times.
it.
The worst times to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to know if alchemists are fae or are they humans that take on like a fae type thing, but they can't handle it.
Maybe.
Gotta find out something soon. What's to find out? But thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode, and join us next week for chapters 21 through 25.